everybody. We are here today for some opportunity to share about the amazing work that's happening in Lamont Elementary School District and specifically around personalized PD. We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves really quick just so you know who we are. And I'm going to let Lori go first. Go for it, Lori.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Lori Gonzalez. I am very proudly sitting here as the superintendent of Lamont Elementary School District, and Lamont is in Kern County, Central Valley in California. Super excited to be here with all of you today and to be able to share what we've learned and done along our path here in Lamont.
Awesome. And I'm Catina Hancock. I'm a partner here at Learner-Centered Collaborative. I've spent just about 30 years in public education as an instructional aide, teacher, assistant principal, and principal. And here at Learner-Centered Collaborative, I work with state, district, and school leaders, teachers, and teams to really think about what's possible in their learner-centered community. And I have had the privilege of working with Lori and her team for almost 2 years, not quite 2 years. And we've gotten really close professionally and personally, and it's a pleasure to share some of the work that we did just kind of like winter to summer of this last school year. So, well, based on our collective years of experience, Lori and I and our team in classroom, schools, and districts, we've learned that experiences need to be learner-centered, and that's not just for the students or the children. This is about the adults in the system as well. And we believe that when personal development is personalized to your strengths, interests, and needs, it's effective and enjoyable. When it's authentic and relevant to your context of your classroom or your school, it's effective and enjoyable. And when you can easily track what you already know and can do versus what you're growing and learning to do, it's effective and enjoyable. So today we're going to explore some practices that we can leverage to really create these experiences for educators in your system. At Learner-Centered Collaborative, when we work with our partners, we really believe that transformation, learning, innovation, it's a process. It's not a singular event. It doesn't just happen in a day or in a week. And so when we get really clear about where we're going and why, we have clear common language and frameworks, and then we practice these cycles of collaboration. That's when you get really meaningful impact and change. And so this process is going to frame kind of how we share about the work that we did in the winter and spring in Lamont. And Lori is going to take us through the first part.
Yes. And so as a superintendent, I walked into this district here in Lamont. And, you know, part of the journey when you come into a new district is really getting to know the district. So learning about their mission, their vision, their values, their goals, what's on their strategic plan if they have one, or their LCAP here in California. And so with that, and working with the board, and working with my leadership team, there was a real need for me to I use my 4L campaign is what I call it, which is listen, learn, lead, and love campaign. And through that journey of really listening is where there was a real desire for getting training and getting not necessarily new programs, but how to facilitate the use of the current programs that we had. So over the course of 8 months, we worked with what we built together with a guiding coalition. I sought out a Learner-Centered Collaborative because they had what I truly believe was the approach that was needed in California. When we look at what's there in regards to a framework, there was nothing really ready yet at this point because of the delays, because of COVID and whatnot, in moving forward. And so we wanted to really allow ourselves the opportunity to gain that background. And so we formed a guiding coalition made out of students, staff, teachers, parents, board members, administrators, and community members. And we worked together to define what we wanted to define within that strategic plan. And that also included redefining our vision, our mission, and our values. And then we were able to also create our learner profile, our learning model, and then our pillars of success. And so what we technically did is we created an entire strategic plan, which is a 3 to 5 year plan. And we moved forward with that. So with our learner profile, you can see there, we articulated, there was a team, the Guiding Coalition was made up of about 65 people. And we worked together. We spoke to the values of shared language within the learning model, and how, as educators, what is it that we can leverage with what we have currently to be able to promote that learning for our students. Additionally, it provided voice for both students, parents, teachers, and community members and leaders to say, what is it that we want our students to leave Lamont with? So that's where that learner profile came into play. It was a great collaboration time. It was great to do this together because we had so much voice involved. And it also speaks volumes of what is it that Lamont is about, and what we want our children to be equipped with as successful students within our capacity, within our ecosystem. I think ultimately the other important thing is our profile pillars of success, because our pillars of success are really what guiding everything that we do going forward. And so we built our LCAP based on that, so our goals. So anytime we spend money, anytime we purchase a new program, no matter what it is that we do, it's all based on our pillars of success. Want to go to the next one, Catina? In addition to that, we also adopted that learning model. And so the learning model, and what is it as an educator? How do I educate our students? What does it look like? And so we were able to break up the PACE model. So it's personalized, authentic, competency-based, and equitable and inclusive. Based on that learning model, we then allowed our teachers to say, what are the competencies within there that you need to be successful? And the 4 elements of PACE is really what we gear our instructional model on. And then plus those competencies to define the outcomes within the learner-centered teaching and learning model. And giving them that opportunity to select what they needed to provide that instruction is really when things became authentic to themselves and personalized. And so it sort of filled a double capacity building opportunity, because it gave our teachers the opportunity to select on their own, learn on their own what they wanted to learn, and then in turn know how to model that for their own students. So each of if you can see here, the competencies are all broken up here. So each competency base, this one here specifically, you'll see the different areas within the competency and then what they look like. And so each element of the learning model is then further broken down into the specific educator competencies, which gave the perfect starting place for clarity on what the learning-centered learning would look like and how it would support the learners. It also allowed the teachers to select what they felt they needed to work on the most. This was based on the teacher self-reflecting on their strengths and then setting their goals on areas that they wanted to improve. I think that was one of the biggest things that, coming back from my personal experience as an associate superintendent of ed services, you would hear comments like, well, I've already done that, or this is something that seems familiar to me from the past, or I want to learn on my own pace. This really allowed for that. Because we broke up the competencies, but then on top of that, it allowed teachers to select what they wanted and what they felt was something that they'd be willing and wanting to implement, which then had additional ripple effects that we'll get to in a minute.
Awesome. And we started this with really wanting teachers to better understand both where they were having areas of strength and potentially areas of opportunity. So all educators in Lamont, including special ed and all across TK8, took this like self-inventory, the self-assessment around the 4 elements of the learning model. And it gave them some idea about where they were sitting on a scale of 0 to 10. And from there, they could decide, oh, I'm kind of not doing as well in this area, so I want to focus there. Or some people actually chose an area that they were doing really well in, and they just wanted to nail it. So they took something that they felt was a relative strength, and they really enhanced it. From there, we took them through a variety of learning opportunities. So we designed learning experiences that included workshops, strategy pages, access to asynchronous online coursework, and these resources and activities supported educators to learn new strategies, design some type of activity or short lesson that they were going to test, and then go out and test it. So a few of the activities that we wanted to leverage during this time was something like a chop challenge. I don't know if there's any foodies in the room, but we like to kind of mimic some fun, authentic activities with our educators so that we're also giving them the experience of what they could design in their own classroom. So one of the things we like to do is the chop challenge. We give them a profile outcome from the learner profile, and then they leverage the PACE learning model, and they think about what types of activities could they plan for to actually allow children to work towards that profile outcome. Another example of a process that we used regularly is what we call win time, what I need. And I think I saw it in the chat early that, you know, the sit and get model is not effective, or the one size fits all is not effective. And what we want to make sure we do with our educators is have guided instruction, right? There's a place for that, but that as we give them an opportunity to explore and it's based on their needs, we want to give them choice and how best to keep moving that learning forward. So in every session that we would have, we made sure to include win time. And it was actually one of the things that most educators said was the most beneficial in their experience. From there, we had a variety of opportunities to have that practice, to have coaching and feedback, reflection and revision. And so this is a sample timeline that we leveraged where we had workshops. They went out and tested their plans. We came back virtually to do a community of practice reflection and kind of just, again, this cycle of learning where we weren't just, all right, you learned it, go forth and do, and we hope it works. We want to keep bringing people back together and having those conversations, not only to reflect personally, but to reflect across and grow each other. So we also wanted to make sure that when we were in that kind of coaching, feedback, reflection, and revision piece, we also had artifacts that were relevant and authentic. And so through a variety of these sessions, we created space for teachers to share what they did. What did they learn? What was the impact it had? And in this curated portfolio, teachers were able to go and see what others did. So not only did they learn something relevant to their goal, they also got to steal ideas from their colleagues. So super impactful way to kind of cross-pollinate is to make sure that, you know, we're not reflecting in isolation. So that's kind of the process with, you know, we got to get clear about where we're going. We need to have some goals established as a system about that. And then we have to create these opportunities for educators to learn, test their ideas, collaborate, analyze impact. So we're going to talk about three particular things that we did. One is educator personalized learning. We did an innovation cohort and then leadership retreats. So we'll jump into those. And if you have questions about these so far, go ahead and add them to the chat. Our host, Ashley, is going to keep track of those, and we'll make sure to add time at the end for a Q&A. So to get started, after we were really clear about the Lamont framework for the future, we really wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity for all educators to have an introduction to the learner profile and the learning model. It wasn't just enough to say like, oh, we'll just get the coalition of the willing, or, you know, the most innovative. We know that's important, and I'll address that in a little bit, but everybody needs to know and understand the direction, and we wanted to create space for that. So what we did is, again, this is the self-assessment that everybody took, and these are the first results. So we wanted them to know where they were in these 4 elements of the PACE learning model, and then to set some small goals about what they wanted to focus on. We then brought them together. So all educators, Ashley, if you go to the next slide, all educators over the course of several different workshops came together for a half day, and we did an introduction. We talked about the why of this work, the importance behind getting clear with the framework, and then we did an introduction to the learner profile and the learning model. From there, we scraped off a few folks. We call them early adopters, the ones that are like willing and eager, and they are just excited to jump in because we know that through their energy and excitement, we can gain some traction that kind of helps us cross the chasm into that bigger portion of our educators to think about this PD.
And I
So
think
the
that's,
innovation,
sorry, go ahead.
oh, you're good. So the innovation cohort, Lori's going to jump into.
Yeah. And I think that that's what's the brilliant piece about this, is that we are constantly surveying our staff to say, hey, where are you with this? How are you feeling about it? What are you excited about? What are your needs? And by really opening it up and listening to them, we were able to establish our innovation cohort. And they really are the early adopters. They come from, most of them came from the coalition, because they went through that process of developing that framework, of developing what's important in our learner profile. What do we want to see in our learning model, and what does that learning model really look like? And so because they were part of that process, they wanted to then unfold it in their own rooms. And by being that, having our own personalized trainings was amazing. Now, if you go back a couple slides there that Catina went over, there were some components that had to be district-wide. So we took all our teachers through that, but our innovation cohort, they really dug in, and we provided them this opportunity with the 3 additional full days of training. And this provided resources to them, a deeper dive into each one of the areas that they selected. That's the one beauty between Catina and I as well, is like we would sit and we would collaborate as what's the best approach. Should we open it up to all of the PACE model, or just one section? Where are we going to get the best collaboration between the cohort themselves, and then of course to create that positive energy for everyone else. We decided ultimately to open up all the PACE, the 4 elements within the PACE. And it was neat to see who chose what. And then when you sort of looked at who chose what and the why behind it, you can see there, based on the stars, those are the 3 areas that our staff chose to deep dive, get a deeper dive into. They went in there, they did both synchronous and asynchronous, work with it. There's trainings that they went through, the 3 days that we got together, they got to share what they did and what they learned. And then based on the assessment and the teacher needs, the 3 groups that came out were these 3. When you look at it, you're like, I look at it like, why was equity not selected? And I think that equity wasn't necessarily selected. It was just on my end, is because we really believe and want that our students, that we're doing things equitably. But I think that there's a deeper understanding of what that means. And so I'm looking forward to that being one of the next elements that we dive into. But the 3 that were selected are starred there. And I'm just so pleased to share that the excitement that came from that. You can go to the next slide there. Yeah, innovation cohort. So here's our timeline.
Go back one. There you go.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. So our innovation cohort timeline, you can see here how we space the time out, what it looked like, and just allowing for time for them to dig in. When you allow yourself to be self-paced, it just becomes that much more personalized for yourself. And you can see how we did that, and the work that came behind it, and the sharing. You would walk into these rooms and it was just filled with just talk, sharing, and did you try this, and look at that. And it was amazing. It was almost as quite honestly, as if everyone had done every single one of the elements, because of the sharing that and the collaboration that came from that. So to watch adult learners learn was honestly the icing on the cake here, because it was just amazing. And then the really neat thing is that they would go out and also share at their staff meetings or in their grade level PLCs, and more people would want to be part of that and want to just dig in deeper. So the win-win was definitely attained from here. So let me show you the impact. And so of course data has to be there, because you want to look at data and look at the impact. I mean, talk about excitement and joy, and I mean, it's palatable. 30% increase in the area. I mean, that I don't, honestly, in all my years in education, I don't think I've ever seen such positive data. But when you see the questions and you see how the teachers felt more in tune and empowered to be able to teach in this manner, right? To implement the learning model is just amazing. And I really believe it's because it was self-selected. It was something that they wanted to learn in. And then also because of the fact that, they were able to do it on their own pace. I will say that one of the best parts of all of this was that, as a superintendent, I have to continue to explain to my board as to why is it that we want a particular model? Why are we, moving with this particular program? And so nothing speaks louder than words than when someone else says it for you, because it's genuine and it's not necessarily just delivered by me as a superintendent. And so I openly invited, I went to one of our innovation cohort meetings, and I just openly invited, and I said, anyone want to come to the board meeting to present? I cannot tell you how exciting it was. To the next board meeting, I had 8 of my teachers that showed up, 2 different sites actually showed up, and they had PowerPoints ready, slides ready, depicting what they learned, how they've implemented, the impact with children. And then just to show you all their learning was phenomenal. They presented what they had done on all area in every one of the elements that they learned. And then they themselves started with the mission, the vision, the values, and the pillars of success, because we've ingrained in them the importance of that, but also because they own it now. When you own something, it just transcends. And so super excited to what's to come. And again, 30% plus, that's like rocking. It's amazing. So super excited with that.
And Lori, the pride, right? Before we go on, Ashley, really quick, the pride that they had, and it was almost like, I wish you could have seen how people arrived, in the first session, right? Where we're asking our teachers to add something on without maybe quite taking something away. And although we're creating the space to do it, it can feel hard and heavy. And so the change of being like, okay, I'm open to this, but I'm not quite sure where this is going to take me, to I feel energized and like relieved, and the level of stress that, I don't know, the innovation cohort, they clicked, and the cross-pollination and the growth was tremendous.
It was tremendous. And I think you tend to have schools, and sometimes you get so just connected with your own school that you don't necessarily branch out. But the cross grade level collaboration and cross school level, school site collaboration was just, I mean, it was outstanding. And then they'd come in, and it's like you haven't seen each other in years, and they're just chit-chatting about all the things that they've done and how excited they are. It really built that in. And I will tell you that my board, when after we did that and we finished our meeting, had a conversation, and they said they had never had teachers present to the board like that. And it gave them a glimpse to what is happening in the classroom. And it just cemented that we're doing the right thing. And so that you can't put a price tag on that, because that's amazing. And yeah, and we do walkthroughs with our board, but having them present like that completely changed it, because it gave them that, again, that vantage point and that viewpoint of what's happening on a daily basis in the classroom. So
Love it. Awesome.
yeah. Then you can't leave out your leaders. I will tell you that. I feel like I need to stand up because I'm so excited. I got to stand up. Sorry. Okay. So, here we go. So our leaders also need individualized training. And here's the part about the leaders. We have our admin who are, one of the things that I require that our admin attend our professional development, because they have to be part of, okay, something's going on because of the name tags in my face. So I'm sorry, it's not gonna work. Here it goes. There we go. Yay! I feel like I can see now. Yay! Sorry about it, that everyone. So I require that, because as a learner myself, if you're not involved in the learning, then you can't speak to it. And if you can't speak to it, then how can you say that you want someone to do something? In regards to like a new program or a new learning model. And so that's one aspect. So all my principals and my VPs and our TOSAs all were part of the trainings as well. Now, when it comes to leadership development, I believe it's 100% important to have every leader, from your director of nutrition to your director of construction to my director of IT, everyone's involved. So when I do leadership trainings, I think it's important that everyone sits at that table and understands where we're going forward, because ultimately, no matter what position you have within the leadership, you also have something to contribute to how the learner learns. And so through our leadership professional development, we're able to connect with Catina and sort of take us through what our teachers are going through, but also get better as a unit. So as a cohesive leadership unit, we have grown tremendously as well, and then learned about what it is that how best to serve our students. And so, yeah, it's a whole nother model. So I do a retreat, and we come in with that retreat, and then we go through every aspect of the learning model, the learner profile, and then our pillars of success. And so we start every part of our leadership is always framed with this. Again, going back to my earlier statement, in that it doesn't matter what position you may hold, you still have to be accountable to ultimately who we're here to serve, and we're here to serve our children. And so when they can speak to it themselves, whether it's a learner profile, the learning model, or the pillars of success, we can move forward with that. And we do lots of activities, really a lot of culture building. You want positive culture. And then also we do a lot of collaborative conversations to make sure that we are ensuring that what we're doing within our own department is fulfilling the goals of the pillars of success.
Next slide, Ashley. There. Yep.
Thank you. Yes, and so trust is a huge one. When I first started, one of the things I also do with my board is with my leadership team, is we do book studies. This last year, we finished up with Katie Martin's book, Evolving Education, so that we can read the book, understand what it is that we need to be better leaders within our district, and then also understand the model. But it builds trust. And I can tell you that there's so much trust within my group, and it's because we have that collective efficacy. And if you look at Hattie's work, the number one driver that will create more growth is collective efficacy. And I can tell you that through this process, we've been able to do that, and really ensure that no matter what it is that we're doing, no matter what department we're running, we know that it's our learner model and our learning. Our learner profile, our learning model, and our pillars of success, what we have to lead with. And here are our pillars of success, how we prioritize where we spend the money and most of our energy. If you look at the pillars of success, the number one is our whole child. We have to make sure that our students are our focus. We want to make sure that anything we do, whether it's a new program, whether it's training, whether it's new materials, all of it is going to be based on what is there for their success. And one of the things that we're really looking at for the fall here is our literacy PD. Again, going back to that statement I said earlier, Catina and I are having constant conversations. We got the learner profile done, we got the learning model done, we've got our pillars of success. It's like, what's next? We're still going to continue to do deep dives into our competencies, but we have to start focusing in on what are those major needs within our program, our organization. And for us, it's literacy and math. It's specifically number sense. And so this next year, we're going to focus on a literacy PD, and then we're going to be focusing on some number sense training. And then we're going to continue with our innovation cohort, and then really continue doing some more learning model PD, all of it mixed in with that to make sure we have whole child success. I'm super excited about our 21st century learning schools. In that one specifically, we're going to be enhancing our facilities, improving our facilities, making sure our libraries are up to date, because our students are in there so that they're not the old type of libraries or the new libraries that are very innovative. But most importantly, we have a micro school. And so we will be having a micro school at our Myrtle site, who they're really taking a much deeper dive into what this model looks like, working with 9 teachers, and to really allow for them to go beyond what is the quote unquote expected type of instruction, for them to try to see what this looks like and what's possible with our students. for our culture, community, and climate, we're really building our brand and then really advocating for our framework. It's important that everyone understands why we have this framework, why this strategic plan is in place, and then how we're going to play it out for 5 years. And then investing in our team just continues to do different things to improve our teachers, but really giving them voice. This summer, they really wanted PBL. So we have a full week of PBL training, project-based learning. Again, our literacy PD and then our math PD, we're going to differentiate between what our upper grade teachers need and then our teachers within the elementary level. That's going to look very different, but yet every teacher is a literacy teacher. So that's going to be the training involved there. And then we did something totally different this year. We're going to have Tuesdays early outs. And on those Tuesday early outs, we'll be doing real specific work with PLCs and some other collaborative work. So this is how you can see how our pillars of success have elements within them and to continue to improve, but always with our vision, mission, and values, our learner profile, and our learning model in mind.
Awesome. And this process that we've gone through, we have been all over this little squiggly line at a variety of places, because when you're being innovative and you're trying to do something different and new, there is no roadmap. There is no step 1, step 2, step 3. And a human profession, when you're dealing with people that come from all walks, we have to adjust course along the way. And so, you know, Lori and I, we embrace this kind of like messy tension, and it just takes a high level of collaboration and trust and a belief in what's possible to start to get this line to better straighten out. And I would say, like, we probably need to change this so that it's not just a straight line, because you're always reflecting and innovating in new and different ways, but it does start to get a little bit more clear as you go.
Yeah.
So with that, if you go to the next slide, Ashley, you know, at LCC in particular, we pride ourselves on meeting schools and districts where they're at. Everything we do is highly customizable and supportive of what the schools and districts need. And we really want to create the enabling conditions that support educators and leaders across the system to be more and more learner-centered. So these are just 3 of the strategies, but they're ones that have been really impactful in Lamont. And so we're super curious. If you go to the next slide, Ashley, we'd like to just pause and reflect, and then we'll go ahead and open it up to Q&A after that. But of these cycles, what's most profound for you? Sorry, Lori, I took your slide. Just jumped right in.
You're fine. You're fine. I will say, though, about the data, I think it's important also to know that always checking in, check-ins, surveys, you know, data. You know, I always say that data does not drive instruction, does not drive what you do, it guides it. And I think that that's what's important, because you continuously have to adapt either what you're providing or what your thinking is next, you know, right? Because it is dependent upon what their needs are. And I will say that that has been the best component to all of this, because our teachers do feel like they've been heard.
Love it. Awesome. All right, Ashley, do you have a couple questions? I saw a few flow by.
Yes, we have one question from Jessica. What were some of the professional learning opportunities that teachers selected / participated in? And did teachers connect across schools?
Yeah, so really depended on the group that we interacted with and or the amount of time that we had, but in all cases, they had access to our online courses. So they could interact with those both while we were in workshop and after asynchronously, just to continue to explore. We have toolkits and some strategies pages that were the primary sources of, exploration. And then we tried to just design a variety of activities that were both authentic and relevant and personalized to what the educators in the room needed, and replicated some of the experiences that we wanted to take them through. We do a lot of metacognition. We want people to think about what they're experiencing and how that translates into themselves designing. And for sure they cross-pollinated. So we mixed up grade levels, we mixed up schools, right, Lori?
Yeah, and then they also would get together after school on their own. So you have, either by grade level or not, they would get together and just sort of talk about, hey, this is something I just learned. What do you think? And they would try it. And so that made a huge impact too, because again, collaboration happening on its own, you can't pay for more than that. That's like the best. And so that was another thing that I noticed. And the innovation cohort just sort of got really close because they were in this together. And so they felt like, they wanted to be able to, open up to others. And so that was really neat. So totally, they have come together. And the micro school, those 9 teachers collaborate. They have asked for their lunches, their cross grade levels, and they've asked for their lunches to be at the same time just so they can do that. So absolutely, collaboration is huge. And they sort of sought themselves out. So it was neat.
Awesome.
We do have a question in the Q&A. I don't know if you saw that, Ashley. You see that?
Yeah. Do you want to give some advice, Lori?
Sure. So what advice do you have for schools that are doing this type of work, but their district is still pushing an initiative top down? So I will tell you that is something that I've lived that as well, where you have that top down. And I also, kind of what I'm doing here, which is you have to still, you whether you want to or not, at some point, there still has to be direction from the district, right? I think what needs to change in that respect is understanding that there's different models of learning. And so I would advise in this particular situation is have your leaders, have your superintendent, your director of ed services, whomever it is that's in charge of that you feel is that top down, is really look at what does it mean to be a learner centered. There's a lot of work out there right now on the learner centered approach. And when one of the things that I did to really drive this home is when I would talk to my board and talk to my leaders is I would show them what are like the top 25 skills that students will need in the year 2025 and beyond. And when you look at them, all of those are innovative, collaborator, problem solving. You're talking about skills that sometimes you would call them soft skills, which now I believe that they're the skills that we need in careers going forward. And if it's all top down and you're just giving, then students are never having that opportunity to use those skills. And so I think that that's important. But I think the other component to that is the fact that giving voice. If you just sit back and listen to what teachers are asking and students are asking and parents are asking, you're going to be shocked that turning a page day by day on a program that is not liked or they're not learning from isn't going to give you much. And so it really is about voice. Honestly, it's equity. It's the equitable way of teaching because not every learner learns the same. There's so many other aspects I can talk about how learners learn, but if you're just a sit and get and you're a multilingual learner, it's going to be really difficult as well. So there's a lot of talk there. I would be willing to have conversation because I need to know more about where that question's coming from, but I can tell you that giving voice is huge.
Awesome. Yeah, Danelle, the only other thing I would add to that is that, if you are experiencing success at your school site and the work that you're doing, take that to the district, take it to the board meeting, like show them the impact of the work that you're having so that they can see what's possible. And that might spark kind of some of that conversation to, maybe create your own framework for the future in the district so that everybody kind of is on the same page. But I think, reach out to us. We're happy to connect and kind of learn more.
And I will tell you too that your mission and vision, read your mission and vision for your district. If your mission and vision doesn't have equity, doesn't have community, and it doesn't have about, going toward the 21st century, actually it's almost the 22nd century, then, are we really providing what our kids need? And that's how I started here. I would tell my board, how can I, as a superintendent, guide this district to success with a mission and vision that is not up to date with what we need, our current needs? So that could be your first step, is revising that. And LCC helped me with that as well.
I think we could take maybe one more question if there is one. But otherwise, we are so grateful that you've made some time and space to come learn with us today. We'll definitely share a recording and some links if you want to connect with us. So appreciate everyone. Hope the rest of your July goes smoothly. Lori, appreciate you so much. Thanks for making time in your busy week to chat.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. I think my biggest advice is don't be afraid. We're always afraid, what if, what can't, what might happen. but the great thing is that kids are learning, and this has been an amazing experience with Catina, of course, because she's like more than just a colleague now. She's a friend, but also with LCC. The entire team at LCC is absolutely amazing, and they're doing great work and can really lead you to the right place.
Awesome. Appreciate you. And we will send out some follow-ups to everyone. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.